Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the California ISO, I'd like to welcome you to the Capacity Procurement Mechanism Enhancements Track 2 Stakeholder Call to discuss the straw proposal. My name is Caitlin McGee, representing the Stakeholder Affairs Group here at the ISO, and I'll be helping facilitate today's meeting. I'm also joined by CV Hall, our Senior Policy Developer. As a reminder, the presentation and agenda for this meeting is posted to the Policy Initiatives webpage, and that is under the Stay Informed tab of our website. Before we get started today, a few housekeeping reminders. This call is being recorded for informational and convenience purposes only. Any related transcription should not be reprinted without the ISO's permission. We try to structure these meetings in a way to stimulate dialogue and engage different perspectives, but we do ask that you please keep your comments professional and respectful and try to refrain from repeating what has already been said. There's a few ways to ask a question or make a comment today. If you are connected to audio using your computer or through the Call Me option, you can click the raise hand icon at the bottom right toolbar. And then if you're connected through audio only, you can press #2 on your phone, and that'll add you to the queue. Before making your question or comment, please remember to state your name and affiliation. If you do prefer, you can send your question or chat into the question or comment into the chat box, and I can read it aloud for you. If you do need any technical assistance today during the meeting, you can send a chat to the event producer. So we have a pretty brief agenda today. CB is going to take us through the straw proposal, future tracks of this initiative, and then I'll just close it out with next steps and a bit of an overview of our schedule. And then here is an overview of the policy initiative stakeholder process here at the ISO. As you can see, we're towards the beginning of the proposal development cycle. Again, here to talk about the straw proposal today. So with that, I'll hand it over to CB.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Caitlin. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for taking the time here. So I'm just going to walk you through our straw proposal. If we can go to the next slide. Thanks, Caitlin. Okay, so in a nutshell, we are proposing to increase the CPM soft offer cap from $6.31 per kilowatt month to $7.34 per kilowatt month. You can see on this slide here a few of the justifications that we are providing for this relatively straightforward increase. First, it's based on our tariff-defined methodology, and we are using CEC-provided combined cycle going forward fixed costs. Also, on that note, we believe that our tariff-defined methodology for deriving the soft offer cap is still reasonable and relevant, although we are eager to take on broader RA reforms, and we're eager to talk to all of you more in the near future about potential options for modifying both the CPM and the soft offer cap. So there's more to come, but for this initiative, this is what we're proposing. And also, if you see here, this last bullet, the proposed increase to the soft offer cap, it accounts for recent inflation, and it's also directionally appropriate given the increase bilateral capacity prices over recent years, which have been significant. So if we can go to the next slide. Oh, we may actually, why don't we pause if we have a question. We can go one slide at a time. We don't have that many slides, so.
Sure, let's move to Paul Nelson. Go ahead.
Nelson with Customized Energy Solutions. Just do a quick sound check if you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay. So the tariff, does the tariff specify using a combined cycle as the basis for capacity?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I guess in light of some of the changes going on, has CAISO considered looking at perhaps using the cost of storage?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Paul. We absolutely have thought about that, and we actually talked about it a bit in the last stakeholder meeting in early June. And we got a lot of good comments on that front as well. It's just that for this year, we're proposing to do a pretty straightforward update to the soft offer cap. And we're going to continue to use the existing reference resource that's listed in the tariff, which is a 550 megawatt combined cycle resource. And over the last I'll get to this in a sec, but we have a slide that kind of shows the last 4 years of CPM designations. And you'll see in that slide that the majority of the CPM designations that we've made over the last 4 years have been for gas-fired resources. So we believe that it is still relevant. A gas-fired resource is still the appropriate reference resource for driving the soft offer cap. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
All right, I think that's all for questions.
Okay, great. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so this slide provides a bit more detail here on the straw proposal. So if you look at this table summarizes the analyses that the California Energy Commission has done over the last essentially 3 rounds of this. And the first was done back in the 2014 timeframe. Again, in line with the ISO tariff, the CEC calculated the going forward fixed costs for a 550 megawatt combined cycle unit back in 2014. And you can see in that first column that the 3 specific components of the going forward fixed costs are insurance, ad valorem taxes, and then fixed O&M. And so if you sum those 3 components, you get $63 roughly per kilowatt year. Those numbers are in kilowatt year. And then you multiply them by 120%, and that multiplier is also, again, in the tariff. And you get $75.67 per kilowatt year. You divide by 12 to express it in per kilowatt month, and that gives you the 631. So that is how the 631 was derived. That is the existing soft offer cap. About 4 years ago, we went through this same exercise, again, with the CEC, and came up with a lower number and decided at that point to leave the soft offer cap unchanged at 631 per kilowatt month. And then here we are now in 2023. We're going through the same exercise again, and you can see that the components have gone up in terms of dollars. If you sum the 3 components, you get to $73 per kilowatt year roughly, multiplied by 120% to get you 88 per kilowatt year, and then divide by 12, and that gets you the 734 per kilowatt month. So exact same process, and that's how the 734 per kilowatt month is derived. And if you're looking for more detail on this, the CEC provided slides. A number of you probably saw those slides at the last workshop or at the last stakeholder meeting, which was back in early June. But the CEC has actually provided some additional information, a couple additional slides that are embedded in that overall workshop presentation that you can find on the ISO website. And we've provided a link here at the bottom of the slide. And sorry, the workshop was back in May. Sorry, that was actually May 11th. So if you check out that link, you can see the updated slides from the CEC, which provides some data sources and also provides some clarity on what specific variables were updated, which variables weren't, and that kind of responds, I think, to some of the questions we got from all of you in comments. So let me pause there just to see if there's any questions about the numbers.
Again, if you do want to ask a question, you can click the raise hand icon in the bottom right toolbar, or you can put your question into the chat and I'll read it aloud. right, well, it looks like there's no questions right now.
Okay, great. So yeah, so 734 per kilowatt month. That's what we're proposing. If we can go to the next slide. Okay, and to Paul's question from earlier, this is the slide, the number you've already seen, but this shows the last 4 years of CPM designations that the ISO has made by volume, and breaking it out in terms of technology type. So you can see in blue here, 66% of the CPM designations have been to gas-fired resources over the last 4 years. But again, there's some other types as well, storage, hydro, and imports as well in the gray. So we'll keep going. Okay, and then unless there are any questions about the actual straw proposal itself, which again I know is very straightforward, plain vanilla. But in line with our tariff, we can move to this next section, which discusses future initiatives and tracks. Maybe just pop. I guess we'll see if anyone asks questions. Otherwise, this slide you may have seen in the RA slice of day workshop that ISO hosted in June. This is the same slide that was presented in that forum. But it's here to kind of give a picture for the fact that there's a bunch of RA-related policy work that is coming up. And one of the things that is important are these RA working groups, where the plan is to work with stakeholders to identify and prioritize all the critical RA policy items. And as part of that, subsequent changes to CPM, to the capacity procurement mechanism, as well as, more specifically, soft offer cap itself, would feed into that RA working group, RA enhancements, CPM enhancements bar that you see there. And we do have Partha and Abdul on the line here as well. I would love to offer to see if either of them want to provide any additional color.
Thank you, Stevie. I think you covered it very well. Yeah, I think that that process was really going to be sort of a forum to really address sort of the more broader concerns around that were raised here around sort of our existing backstop processes and rules, and to really sort of make sure that we're looking at these things in a holistic fashion, along with sort of other reforms that might be needed within the RA space, and really kind of hone in first, as Stevie described, on making sure that we're really understanding what the making sure we're aligned on what the goals are, the various functions, what the current pain points are. So moving forward, we can really sort of take a comprehensive, holistic look at, how the ISO programs need to evolve, and making sure that we have the stakeholder feedback as we're sort of considering moving to any sort of subsequent stakeholder initiative processes. So yeah, thank you, Stevie. Really appreciate it.
Just see if we have if anyone has any more questions about. Yeah, so I mean, CPM track 2, you can see CPM track 1 and CPM track 2 down there at the bottom, and then lots more good work upcoming. So maybe we'll go to the next slide. Yes. Okay. So here we just I just want to say thank you for your comments. A number of you submitted comments, and these are the types, exactly the kind of things that we are eager to discuss with you in the subsequent tracks and forms that we just showed in the previous slide. A number of you asked, hey, can you examine the fixed costs of energy storage resources? What about geothermal or gas peakers? There's also a comment about imports. So these are all great ideas to consider. Another one is to incorporate opportunity costs into the soft offer cap. I think this might result in a dynamic soft offer cap if we were to do something like that. So that would definitely be more work, but a very important and interesting idea. On the same kind of note, instead of having a flat soft offer cap that applies across all months, the same price, you could also explore having a seasonal or monthly soft offer cap as well. That might be another idea that was proposed. So these are just a few of the initial ideas that were submitted by you all in comments. So we just wanted to thank you for those. And these ideas are definitely not lost. They will make their way into the next round. Okay, I think that's all this might be a pretty short stakeholder call here. I've kind of reached the end of my slides. But I think we're going to talk a little bit about the schedule.
Yeah, and just to confirm, I think there's no questions on the audio only line, so we'll move on. So I'll walk you through a bit of the next steps and schedule options for this initiative. Again, and sorry here, there's a little typo, but please submit your comments on the straw proposal, not the draft tariff language, straw proposal by end of day July 24th. We'll get this updated on the version that we have online. And then here is the web page to access the materials and the comment template. The comment template will be posted shortly after this meeting. And as CB mentioned, here are the schedule options that he was mentioning. So option 1 is our current schedule that's targeting board meeting in November. But as he's mentioned, it's a pretty clear-cut process and initiative. So we would like to propose this alternative schedule option 2. And so there will be an opportunity in the comment template to provide your organization's comments on that proposal of an alternative schedule. So I'll pause here. I think this is a great time if we do want to open up some discussion about the proposed schedule. We could talk about it now, or you can put those in your comments. But I do see we have a hand up from Patrick Cunningham. Go ahead.
It's Patrick Cunningham from the Public Advocate's Office. A quick question: on page 11, the roadmap. I may have missed it, but the RA modeling effort. What is that exactly? I know like RA enhancements and everything's getting shifted around, but I was wondering if there is that a slice of day operational sort of initiative?
Okay, Partha, do you want to jump in on this one?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is really sort of mapping an effort, and I think this might be, we're still working in terms of what the format that would be, but it's really like I think that we've been doing a lot of effort internally, and this has been an ongoing basis to enhance the CAISO's RA, IRP, and sort of our modeling processes. And we are sort of, what we're really scoping at here was sort of an effort to have stakeholder participation and feedback as we work to enhance our current processes. So it's likely there would be sort of possibly potentially a similar working group structure where we, are able to sort of level set similar to the RA challenges, just in terms of like what are our existing tools and processes, going forward. How could those be adapted given sort of the changing dynamic, and really sort of make sure that we're honing in on so we have sort of the stakeholder feedback and understanding from you all in terms of, as participants, in terms of sort of like, how does the ISO need to evolve? What are the best practices? What are the current sort of pain points and challenges? And so I think that's sort of lining up sort of an ongoing process that will likely occur in that RA modeling effort space. I wouldn't necessarily look at those timeline and being sort of at the end of it. I think that we discussed in the slides today call it may look like there's going to come to a definitive end of this timeline, but really sort of highlighting sort of that there's likely going to be sort of a increased focus on that RA modeling work and a public effort with you engaging with you all in terms of how that will evolve in the future. So yeah, well, thanks for the question there.
Thank you.
All right, let's move to Ian White.
Can you hear me? Great. All right. Thanks so much. Question regarding the timeline. With the accelerated timeline that the CAISO is proposing in option, I guess that would be option 2, would that allow for considered or continued consideration of sort of a dynamic cap or a cap that varies monthly, or is that likely to not be moved forward?
Caitlin, it's okay if maybe I can jump in on this one. The idea of a dynamic cap, or incorporating opportunity costs into the soft offer cap, that kind of idea would be in neither of these schedules. That would be because these two proposed schedules here, option 1, option 2, both apply. Basically 2 options for CPM track 2, and CPM track 2 we are keeping pretty narrowly scoped to kind of a plain vanilla update to the soft offer cap. What you're referencing would be more would be part of the RA enhancements, the subsequent policy track. That would be getting started later this year, by the way, but would not be going to a board. Would not be going to a board of governors meeting. This would not be going this fall. Are we talking past each other? Hopefully that it was Ian, right? Hopefully that cleared it up.
Hey there, sorry, I couldn't get off mute for a second. Yeah, no, that's helpful. I missed that distinction earlier. Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
All right, let's move to Paul Nelson.
Yeah, Paul Nelson with Customized Energy Solutions. My apologies if I'm asking what was already asked at the last minute. I'm kind of new onto the process here. Since we're already in the summer season and there's an increase and there's a capacity need for this summer, has the CAISO considered essentially, implementing what, perhaps the number you presented earlier, sort of to get this in place, during the summer months, but then in the scope when you were looking at the other, possibly how you come up with a number and changes on that, doing that, at the later implementation dates. So sort of, a fast track to update the number using the sort of the existing benchmark, but then continue to look at perhaps changes in the benchmark, sort of re-ask sort of the question.
So the proposed 734 per kilowatt month, that proposal for the soft offer cap, that is the kind of the more straightforward update. That's the one though that that would require going to the board and then filing at FERC and getting FERC approval. I mean, I can defer to Anthony, but I don't think so. Just the timing of that, given that we would need board approval and FERC approval, I don't think there's any chance that could be done for this summer.
Okay.
So unless Anthony, unless you disagree, I don't think, I think 631 per kilowatt a month is where we are for this summer.
I mean, CB, you're correct that to make any change, we would have to go to the board, get approval to make the change, and then make a tariff amendment filing at the commission, and then it would have to be approved and then implemented. So you're right. That's probably too truncated a time frame to get anything in effect for this summer.
Okay.
Thanks, Anthony. So, Paul, anything else?
Yeah, that answers my
that done?
question. Is it possible to get a more simplified number in time for the summer? And it sounds like where we are today, there just isn't time to actually would get it in before August or September is generally when we're looking at these types of issues. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have any audio only questions, Silas?
No, there are no hands up on the audio only at this time.
Okay. Well, then we'll go ahead and wrap it up. So again, please submit your comments by July 24th. The comment template will be posted to the initiative webpage there in the first bullet point. We should have that template up by the end of today. And then if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to isostakeholderaffairs@kaiser.com. So thanks, CB, for your presentation today, and thank you, everybody, for joining. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Conference. Thank you for using Event Services. You may now disconnect.